what is this whole meditation thing anyway? Talk by Seishin, autumn 2020. This talk is aimed at giving its listener a general and broad understanding of what meditation is in the context of Zen Buddhism. I'll cover what meditation is, its early history and early practices, its development, the Zen, and some new practices. And I'll end with an offer of a brief guided meditation to be able to experience this yourself. So what is meditation and what is Zen? Maybe like tried meditation at yoga class, maybe seeing Zen on a bookshelf, Zen, the art of, etc. But what do these things mean? And to elucidate that, I will turn to Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, who told his Padawan, do not center on your anxieties. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs. And I take this to be a good definition of meditation, concentration on the here and now. After all, Zen comes from the Chinese Jian, which comes from the Sanskrit dhyana, which roughly means absorption or concentration. So Zen is essentially the art of absorption in the present experience, intimacy with the here and now. All this began around 500 BCE when a young prince named Sid had a midlife crisis, realized he was going to die, ditched his wife and newborn kid, traveled to India, and tried to find himself. He never found himself, but he did attain a deep understanding of birth and death, and lots of people thought this was cool and started following him. And after he died, they transmitted his teachings orally for about 400, 500 years before finally the Buddha's words were settled down, written down in the Pali Canon, named after the colloquial Pali language, which Siddhartha or Shakyamuni Buddha spoke. And these became the fundamental teachings of Buddhism to this day. An example of this is the Dhammapada, a Pali collection of Buddha's sayings, in which he says in chapter 2, awareness is the path to the deathless. Unawareness is the path to death. The aware do not die, the unaware are already dead. Buddha literally means one who is awake. So Buddhism and meditation is the practice of waking up, becoming aware, of noticing what's going on. And in this way, we attain the deathless state of nirvana, the profound peace of the present moment. Another key text of the Satipatthana Sutta, or Buddha's discourse on mindfulness practice, is guidance on how to meditate, in which he shows meditation practices about sati, mindfulness or remembrance, where we are mindful or remember our bodies or feelings, the mind or dhammas, which is, again, we are absorbed in feeling our bodies in our bodies. For instance, noticing our breath, noticing our postures, noticing our activities, noticing our anatomical parts, the elements that make up our body, and our body as being of the nature of a corpse. So again, this is a meditation as a form of absorption in the present experience. All of this changed over the course of quite a long time, and in roughly the 12th century, Dogen Zenji, a Japanese monk, traveled to China to bring back to Japan an authentic transmission of Zen, Soto Zen specifically, and he wrote in his guidebook to meditation, sit solidly in samadhi, concentration, and think of not thinking. How do you think of not thinking, non-thinking? This is the art of Zazen. Zazen is not learning to do concentration. It is the Dharma gate of great ease and joy. It is undefiled practice enlightenment. Zazen is the term here for meditation. Za means seated, Zen means, again, absorption. So Zazen is seated meditation. And this form is pointing to the Soto practice that is very primary in his school of Shikin Taza, or just sitting, in which there's not this body scan or visualization or mantra practice. It's just a practice of just sitting, of letting ourselves be very spaciously absorbed in our present experience. Dogen, in another text, Ginjo Koan, points to another practice of Zen Buddhism, which is Koan practice, which is absorption in deep, profound questions and mysteries, such as, he says, to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. Which is to say that another absorption is in these questions. Can we be intimate with these questions of who am I? And can we let those permeate our lives? And so that is a general geist of meditation. Meditation can take various forms of absorption and concentration of deep awareness and awakening. And so I will offer us a brief guided meditation that we can actually experience it. So I suggest that you find a nice comfortable posture. Notice where your hips and your back are. Perhaps wiggle a little bit, get comfortable. Let your body settle in and sink into yourself. Notice your breath. Take a few moments to just notice the in-breath and out-breath. Notice the thoughts arise and cease and let them go. They will be here when we get back. And I encourage you to pause this video when I am done and simply breathe. Give yourself a few precious moments to simply breathe, to just be aware. You know that everything will be okay when you return.